All right. Hello, DFW Women's Club. I am Ashley Wagner, the president. It's so great to see you guys for our virtual educational series. Every month, we host a new lunch and learn with an expert in their field and in their topic. And throughout the year, as we come to an end of the year, we've covered, so many different topics and so many different themes from health and wellness to so many different things. And today we're going to look at a little bit of where you are financially. And I'm so excited to introduce Johanna here with us and talk about what she does. And so she has over 15 years experience working in resolving inherited family drama trauma, should we call it that? And
Work,
how that can
Ashley.
and how that can impact you financially today in your world. And so I'm going to hand it over to her to really dig in with us. And I just think this topic is so fascinating because sometimes we're struggling in our everyday life, but we don't realize what's dragging us down, what the problem is, and that there actually is something on a deeper level that we can really start to dig into to resolve and to in turn grow. And right now, more than ever, I think everybody always worries about their finances, no matter who you are, where you're at in that realm financially. But we're going into the holiday season. We're starting to see the economics of the world just kind of go up and down and maybe be a little bit more dominant in our faces right now. And so, if we can learn how to manage what's going on in our life, to manage that financially, why wouldn't we want to do that, right? And so, we'd love to hear from you about what you do. And just if you want to introduce yourself a little bit more and everything there, we would love to get started.
Wonderful. Thanks for having me, Ashley. It's great to be here with you. So, I'm Johanna Lynn. I'm the founder of the Family Imprint Institute, and I work with clients all the time to help them understand the family they grew up in, the childhood experiences, how this is really like an imprint, and it shapes everything from the state of our relationships to the state of our bank account. And so, we're going to talk today through the lens of epigenetics to recognize how much that shapes our inner confidence, the risks we're willing to go for, where we step out, and where we kind of hold ourselves back in. It all starts around the family table. And so maybe your listeners can relate if you think back to the conversations around that dinner table. Were the rich relatives gossiped about from either a place of jealousy or judgment that, oh, they're so greedy? And now we're in business years later, going for that next level, really serving more and more people in our audience and wondering, is it wrong that I want to be earning, X amount, that I'm really going and reaching for the stars? If our roots come from that place of money equals greed, or those rich relatives, who did they get that money from? There's that big question. And so we really want to even just think back as you're listening to this. What were the conversations around the family dinner table? Were you the wealthy family, or were you the family that didn't really go on family trips or didn't replace the broken whatever in the household? There was that missing money. And so epigenetics can really reveal a lot about where we get stuck, or sometimes what we might call that glass ceiling, why it seems we might be doing more, hiring that coach, doing that new platform, but our income kind of stays the same at the end of the day. We want to start to question some of those key themes that your listeners might be noticing inside their inner relationship with money. And so certainly it starts around that family table. And why? I think from the best way to explain epigenetics is that none of us arrive with a clean hard drive. We're actually born sharing an operating system with our grandparents, with our parents, and so much of that shapes the way we make decisions each and every day. It totally blew my mind to find out that when my mom was in my grandmother's womb, all the eggs my mom would ever have for the children that she would deliver years later was there gestating in grandma's womb. So think about that. We've got grandma, we've got mom, we've got ourselves, and we, the little egg that is us, is imprinted in grandma's experiences. We're literally marinating in what was going on for grandma. And for many people, it's kind of like, I've never thought about that. Were grandma and grandpa well established financially? Did grandma feel like she was doing it all on her own? What was going on at that time when she was pregnant with my mom? Because that will move through the generations to what we are caring about. And so the family story is our story. Like it or not, it resides inside of us. And so if you're looking at developing a new sort of relationship with money, one where you can have ease and trust and calm, you really want to start to take a look at the roots. I think so many of us recognize we share these traits with our family, but we don't think beyond, let's say, the color of our hair, or, gosh, I know I get my thick eyebrows from my dad, but we want to think beyond that. It's way more than physical. We also inherit their emotional patterns. We also inherit the things that are unresolved, the things that still hurt, the things that they haven't overcome. And so if we come from a place, my own dad really wanted to be an entrepreneur, and it didn't quite happen for him. I was the firstborn, surprise pregnancy. And I think due to my mom's pressure to get a stable, job that was okay to support the family, he gave up on his dreams. And so here I am, a natural entrepreneur. I've been working for myself for well over 2 decades. I joke that I'm psychologically unemployable. I just need to do my own thing, and I've got lots of things to share. And I kind of wonder how much my dad felt the same way. It's a bit of a tender topic. So just like in other families, we tend not to bring it up, not wanting to hurt dad's feelings. And yet this pressure, I suppose, that I've always felt sort of just below the surface to do well, to give it that kind of, let me show you what I'm able to do. After about 5 years in business for myself, I learned, and a little bit of a hard lesson, that prove it energy exhausts us from the inside. If we're doing something different, if we're doing something our parent couldn't, we know there's already going to be a bit of resistance and a bit of drag. And so, if we could imagine a conversation similar to the one I have with my dad inside of my meditations, inside of how I cleared this pattern, which is, I can imagine what you would want for me, Dad, for me to thrive, for me to be doing amazing things in my work. And thankfully, I was able to clear, I'm not going to do more than you could, Dad, which is kind of a classic family systems theme where we kind of stay stuck at the level that our parents did. And so, thankfully, able to clear that. And here I am now with an international private practice, training other coaches and therapists how to bring the systems theory into their work, bridging epigenetics and understanding we are so much more than just our individual experiences. And so if we bring it back to money, there is no shortage of the psychology of money, budgeting books, all kinds of, there's probably like a whole bookshelf if you go into any of the local bookstores to really dig into our relationship with money. But I haven't found any of them that really talk about the context of the family system and how much that shapes sort of the lens that you're looking through when you're deciding to take a big risk in your business, maybe to step out into investments, to really move beyond what your typical earning level has been. Let's face it, those of us who are entrepreneurs, we're wired a little bit differently. And we really want to be able to go for, like, kind of like reach for the stars so that our service can really meet all the people that we know we can help. And so the way to look at our inner relationship with money, that's where things really change. If we look back in our childhood, I don't know if any of you are like me, nobody really taught me about money. It certainly isn't taught in schools. the concept of compounding interest or how a mortgage works, those really significant understandings that give us the foundation before we step out into the world making all these decisions. Now, if we're not talking about those sort of logistical things, we're certainly not venturing into the emotions of money, how to stay stable and at ease. It seems so strange to me that in most families, it's very taboo to talk about money. It would be very rare to say, I made this investment and I'm feeling a little shaky about it. I'd like to get your opinion. Now, if you've got that in your family, that's gold. If you're able to go to your parents or go to a sibling and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking of doing. I want to bounce this idea off of you. And there's some openness around that. I want you to know how rare that is and to talk about that and take advantage of that as much as you can. For the rest of you that might be a little bit more like me, where we don't bring it up, we don't talk about it, I want you to start to look at how much of your spectrum between security and the reach for freedom is influenced by your family of origin. So much of the time we grow up not wanting to rock the boat, or don't leave that stable job for following your dreams. And those of us listening here might recognize that's not the path that we can follow. And that might mean it's even more important to understand where those influences are coming from. What's behind that uncertainty to make that bold move? And it doesn't matter kind of what books we're reading, the money management or the best budget, whatever we're going to look at, until we get that inner game aligned, until we really notice what's driving us from the inside, we're just going to be trying to apply strategies, but it's not changing from the deeper reference point. We all have this unique language when it comes to money. I start off all of the workshops that I teach with this topic, and we kind of go around, whether we're in person together, we go around the circle or we go around the Zoom boxes. And I want everybody to give me, what's the first thing that comes into your mind, the first word or the first sentence when you think about money. And every single time I've done it, whether it's 10 people or 100 people, we get such a wide variety of answers. It's all across the board. And so it just goes to mention, even if we're all women, even if we're all entrepreneurs, there might be 100 different answers. And so it just goes to show we all hold that different image of where we're coming from, what I kind of call our money blueprint. And it's kind of running things from behind the scenes each and every day. I want to bring your attention, and maybe for the next week, just notice this. What are you telling yourself about money? We tell ourselves every day. And I just want you to kind of tune in. Are you sort of in this beautiful mantra of I always have enough of what I need? Or does that opposite kind of niggle in the background on the I never have enough? No matter how much I work, it always seems like I'm running short. Or one I really like, I'm making new choices that support my financial future. Or I'm never going to get out of debt. Things just seem to work out for me. I meet the right people. I meet the right people at the right time. Or why, no matter how hard I work, is it like I'm spinning my tires? We want to be so careful about how we talk to ourselves, because this is what builds that inner image. When it comes to our family and that imprint, if, let's say, every time mom would open up the credit card bill, there'd be a look of, despair or upset or anger, or you had a parent that brings home things from the store and hides them so the other parent doesn't see it. What sort of unspoken messages or examples were you shown that are now unconsciously shaping the way you deal with money? The truth is, from a systemic perspective, many of us will limit ourselves or push ourselves, that prove it to energy I was speaking about a little earlier, to be in good standing with our family. I'll do what you couldn't, Dad. or I don't dare to do better than you. These are these unconscious themes that are running our choices, the way we feel, that are the sort of spark of our confidence as well. The other thing to consider is the way we treat money reflects the dynamics that we follow from our family. Do we feel confident and really good about saving because our mom and dad saved so easily? I ran this one workshop where both her parents at different stages before they met lost a ton of money due to savings. It was from other countries and really traumatic circumstances. But this person could not get herself to save at all because the family story was, if I save it, it'll be gone. Somebody else will take it. So, from both sides, her mom and dad, she had this feeling that if I put money aside, it'll be gone. So, her relationship with savings was completely broken. Of course, and maybe some of you can relate, the leap into investing, having our money work well for us, that's a great concept. But the confidence and the knowledge to feel like you know what to do with your money, where to invest it to get the best return. Sometimes that's the place that we can be wobbly or shaky. And so, in the 4 areas of money, take a look at where you feel the relationship is strong and steady, and where you might want to put a little more light on and to give some healing attention to. 2, we talked about savings and investing. The other big one is earning. How's my earning capacity? And the fourth one is how's my spending? How are my spending habits? Are my spending habits actually aligned with the lifestyle that I want? I was listening to the most interesting podcast. I can't think of his name right off the bat, but it's a best-selling book called The Psychology of Money. And he told this really interesting story about his father being an ER doctor. Now, I think he became an ER doc when this author was in his teens. And so, up until that time, dad was in school. The budget was very tight. They really lived in a frugal way. But dad's ambition and what he wanted to do at a service place, he became a physician and worked for 20 years in one of the most stressful jobs we can all imagine. And at the end of 20 years, he was simply burnt out. And the author said, because he didn't drive the Lamborghini and live in the mansion and still really had that sort of, I want to save for my freedom mentality, that he was able to retire when he was ready, the day he decided. Instead of many of his physician colleagues earning the same amount, but also spending the same amount. And they were still having to work beyond when they were ready to retire, when they were kind of on that edge of burnout. And so many people talk about, I want to be a millionaire because they want to have the lifestyle of a millionaire, to drive that car, to live that house, to be in that community that they dream of. And so, what is your inner relationship with money? I'd love for all of your listeners to sort of try that on for a moment. This is what we dive into in the work that I do with my clients, to understand when I first think about money, what that reference point is in my body. How am I responding when money choices come my way? Do I feel super triggered when my spouse maybe wants to go on a super expensive vacation? And I think we should maybe have it feel more humble. We want to also look when now relationships and money get really interesting, because we want to look at how these two systems are interacting. Do we have a spender that's in relationship with a saver? Now try to have a good, vacation plan there. And this is why understanding systemic influences and really getting great with our communication keeps us out of the statistics, with money being one of the prime reasons. I think it's in the top 3 of why relationships end in kind of a nasty divorce. We want to start to look at the money DNA that we've both inherited from our family of origin. Now, if you're separated and listening to this, you've already kind of had that crash and burn because of the differences in the value of money, how it's spent, how it's saved, but you're co-parenting. this is still something you're going to want to sort through, because your children will be sort of caught in the middle between these two very opposite ends of how money is managed, how money is treated. One of my favorite exercises that I do in my course is to imagine sitting across from money. So maybe you want to close your eyes and do that right now, just for 10 seconds, 30 seconds if you give yourself a little more space. Notice like you're sitting across from a friend. Well, first of all, does money feel friendly? Notice how you feel in your body as you're sitting across from the embodiment of money. Do you feel at ease? Do you feel comfortable? All of a sudden, do you feel like you're on a first interview and you've got to say the right thing? You really want to start to be conscientious about how money feels with you, like you're a good steward of money, that money feels safe in your care. And the first way to start that is to develop an internal relationship with money, so that we're not in avoidance of, looking at the level of debt, looking at what's in the bank account, stepping out into investing. We want to really start to recognize money is energy. And what has my baggage, what has my family imprint shaped me in how I'm responding to it? I don't think many people sit down and give that a thought. And so, what would it mean for you to become more friendly with money? A primary question to really unearth that a little more deeply is, how good are you at receiving? Even receiving a compliment. Let's take it outside of finances for a minute. How good are you at receiving the goodwill of a friend who wants to plan something fun for you? Those of us who are entrepreneurs, we are so capable. And typically that means showing up in even our friend groups as the one who's planning the surprise party, the one who's making all the arrangements for the trip. Can you sit back sometimes? We want to have a balance and receive. A big part of being very good as a woman in business is because we've been able to cut through the red tape to get things done. But inside of the relationship with money, even inside of our romantic relationships, the two actually have a pretty interesting parallel. Can I lean back? Can I let it in? Can I trust that it will be there? And this can begin to change the way we can relax into our businesses growing. It might seem counterintuitive, but it's an essential ingredient into the long-term growth of your business. Similar to receiving, do you ever find yourself kind of wondering in the privacy of your own mind, how much am I allowed? How much time off am I allowed? How much self-care? How much rest? How much income am I allowed to stay in good conscience with my family? Now, the founder of this work has written, probably about 50 books on how we carry the family within us. And whatever topic he's writing about, children, parenting, relationships, mental illness, he brings in conscience in every single book. He talks about it like an organizing principle. And we want to start to look at our own relationship with money systemically. How have I been organized to be in good conscience with struggling? I don't know about any of you, but I grew up in a family where you've got to work hard if you really want to succeed. And so for me, in the first, I would say, decade of being self-employed, I didn't know how to rest. I would take all these books on vacation just in case I could get a little bit of work done. Resting felt counter to the goals that I had and what I wanted to achieve. Sadly, that led me to adrenal burnout. And it took months to get my system back on track. It took much longer to finally feel, my cup was full. And so through that really hard lesson, I kind of learned this piece about allowance. And it is still something I have to do with focus and care, because that's a part of my imprint. That's the whole idea here. The more light we can shine on the imprint, it doesn't erase it, it doesn't take it away, but it brings in this beautiful awareness that now we know what to do with it. Ah, there's that instinct again that I've got to work hard to be able to reach this goal. And how might I be able to receive? How might I be able to reach this goal through collaboration, through synergy, instead of feeling like I have to do A to Z, by the weekend, and really push yourself. We've got to work smarter. And knowing your family imprint is one of the best ways to get you there. Another piece I've noticed in the clients that I work with, these sort of high level, amazing women that are out to do great work in the world, is, do I dare to be as successful as I imagine possible? Or will I be judged? Will I be judged by my peers, certainly by my family? Is there a part of me that only allows me to rise so high? It can be very similar to that income ceiling. We've got to be able to look at that. Is that something that's pulling you from behind that you didn't even recognize was there? Choosing between this idea of money, success, and life balance, getting really, really clear on what success is for you, not what it is for your peer, not what it was for your dad, not what it was for anybody else. And that can be a question that you can sit with over a month, writing a little bit that comes in. I like to do this as I'm drinking my morning tea, looking out into nature, this concept of what really is success for me. And I can tell you, in my 2 decades of being self-employed, has that answer ever evolved? Has that ever been refined? Has that ever changed? And so it's good to really get clear with that. As Ashley mentioned, we're rolling out to the end of the year. And so this is a great time to reflect on questions like this before we build out that structure and that strategy for what we're going for in the new year. What is, if we could think about one way to sum up your family's relationship with money? I think that's an easier place to start that question, because then we can kind of pick out, oh no, I've got that one too. Or, oh, great, I'm not stuck there. I've done enough of my own personal work that I see, mom getting really crunchy or really compressed or stressed about this piece. I'm a little more relaxed with that now. Oh, that's great. And there's a way that we can notice where we've evolved and how far we've come. It's really good to check that out. And so as you allow yourself to imagine sitting across from money, let's go back to that inner image. Notice how you feel in your body. The body never lies. And it's okay if you feel a bit tight or concerned or like you're in some kind of performance mode. If this is the first time you've done this, give yourself a bit of space to let whatever comes up be there without judgment. That's the key. What we really want to focus on here, because the body never lies, what else might it tell us? What can we be curious about? How can we deepen this relationship? Let's call it this friendship with money. How can I allow that flow so that I'm more friendly with money? If we imagine ourselves in money shoes, is money feeling like, oh, you always tell me I never stick around, or you always tell me I'm not enough, or whenever you're making a decision that's connected to me, I can see your eyes scrunch up and your face get all, tight. So what is it that we're showing to money? We just want to start to kind of turn it all upside down and look at it from this very fresh perspective. Take it outside of budgeting, take it outside of any other concept, but the roots, the reference point, the where you've been coming from as you look at money, as you make your choices, as you have conversations, we'll call them, with your spouse, however heated. How does communication go, either with your spouse or with your kids? Because this is usually the sort of hotbed of where the biggest issues come up. And we want to start to look at, where was my imprint? What's my spouse's imprint? And how do we create an imprint of our own with intention, with consciousness, with that art of communication that doesn't keep us stuck in the same repetitive arguments year after year? When we boil this all down into you looking at your business, where you're going forward, how you'd like things to be, imagine this as your foundation. None of us can put up the walls or put up the roof before we've got that foundation built. Oh, my apologies. Loud bang. So we really want to get to clear. The clarity is where we build the house of our dreams. The clarity is what allows us to move forward in the right direction. I know in my early years as an entrepreneur, I followed other people's direction. They had great results. I thought, yeah, that looks like a great life. But their way of getting there was not my way. And when I would continue to sit with the question, what is success to me? It started to change. I was able to refine it, and I could follow more of my own direction. That internal guidance will never lead you wrong. So being able to sit with the emotions that are coming up, to let that be the internal guidance that moves you forward. These are some of the most crystal clear ways to work from the foundation. Understanding your imprint will always be there. But hopefully, some of these questions have spurred you to look a little deeper so that you now know how they might be influencing you, however unconsciously they were before. Let's check in with you, Ashley, to see if you have any questions after hearing some of that.
Wow, that was so incredible. And I'm kind of glad I had my camera off because my faces were probably doing all the ones you were describing. I'm like, and ah. There were so many moments and light bulbs that I really would like to dig into myself even a little bit later, and sit and reflect on that. And I know that so many women in our organization are entrepreneurs of all different levels and stages. Some are just I building the idea and gathering the pieces, while others have been in business for many, many years and are continuing to evolve. Some had challenges throughout COVID and struggled financially and are just now coming back from that. And so I can only imagine, hearing as you speak about money, how everyone is feeling, maybe similarly to myself or independently and a little different, of how that relationship changes. But really going back to exactly what you're saying, finding clarity in the foundation and what that can really do to help continue and be peaceful with it, instead of maybe that image of money sitting across from you made you cringe a little bit, like me, right? Like maybe being a little more peaceful to it. And I think that there's just so much beauty in turning it upside down, like you said, and finding that perspective. Sometimes we just get so caught up in our entrepreneurial lanes, like, okay, I have an idea, I'm going to make it work.
Yeah.
Finally, okay, my business is launched. I got to work hard. I got to keep going. There's no time for me, but the business is the most important thing. And then we lose track of all of these important things because we thought that that's what we wanted, when really we didn't start from a really, really strong foundation. And I would love, to just ask you how our members of the DFW Women's Club can connect with you on whatever that next level is for them. I heard you mention some different workshops and sounds like group settings, or maybe even one-on-one. What does that look like for them, as far as getting started? Because there's so
Yeah,
much to tackle.
there really is. And so I've created something called Decode Your Money Imprint. We're really looking at that deep dive. I often joke that we'd rather talk about the sex we had last night than what's in our bank account. Like it feels more intimate than even that. And so it can be a beautiful place of coming out of shame, embarrassment, kind of really just taking the lid off and speaking with it's typically women. The group size is usually about 10. It's very intimate. And what I feel happens that's almost most healing is this sense of like, oh, like you have that going on too? Or yeah, I'm a six-figure earner, but I just have more zeros behind the comma. It doesn't mean I've got it figured out. Or I want to get to that place, but I feel so shaky and things get pulled down. So there's such an interesting thing that happens within community, which is I'm sure what you find in the community you hold, that we learn from each other and we're not that much different. We're so much more alike than we are different. And so what I do is I've got a little bit of a systemic library. It's about 3, 4 hours of the systemic insights on looking at your relationship with money. You can kind of ponder over those and go back to them anytime you'd like. And then 2 deep dive experiential times that we gather online. We do a beautiful experiential approach that unravels this internal way we hold money. So you're going back into your life, your relationship, your bank account from a very different place. And so that is certainly one option. And of course, I have an international private practice if people do prefer to work on it on their own. But the gift of the group is just it's where it's at.
Yeah, I can see so much value in that. And especially as women, because I think men and women handle their emotions a little differently when you're looking at money. And I was just trying to think of me sitting in a group of men talking about my money, emotions, and concerns, and I just don't think it would be quite the same outcome,
Completely
and maybe
agree.
as relatable. And so you're just offering this really safe, sacred space for women to come and really dig in and put in the work to build that foundation, because I know the women in our organization are so strong. Like they're bosses, they're badass, they're amazing. They have amazing ideas and they've been through a lot and still are, you know, successful and whatever that means, but you can see that that can continue to evolve. So I am so excited to share this information and just a different perspective with our friends in this organization and the other leaders to continue to grow together. And I
Totally.
think there's no doubt in my mind why you've been so successful in an international private practice and just across the globe, and what you're doing, because it's relatable and it's exactly like you said. It doesn't matter where you are on that journey or where you're living or what your history or your epigenetics are. You just have to dig in to do the work. And what an awesome opportunity for our members of this organization to really get to speak and to know you, the founder of the Family Imprint Institute, and hear just a tiny little bit of what you can help them uncover and grow. So I just am so honored to get to spend this time with you, and grateful I turned my camera off. I think that would have been way too distracting. Like,
Well, I'm
oh
glad
my
it gave
gosh,
you some wow
this
factor.
one-on-one session. Yeah, this would have been like 101 for Ashley, right? But we'll connect offline about that.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your time. And I just want to share your website and where they can go to find some more of that. Is it johannalynn.ca is your
That's
website? Or
right.
would you
That's
prefer
right.
Facebook, or what's the best
I'm
avenue?
on Instagram under the Family Imprint Institute, and I'm on LinkedIn under my name, Johanna Lynn. Those are the 2 places I'm most active.
Beautiful. Instagram and LinkedIn. And then, of course, the website has a ton of really great information and a little bit more about what you're doing every single day. So, thank you so much for being such an honored guest. I just can't wait to hear all the feedback from the women, and probably many conversations at our upcoming events about just financials and money and what we're uncovering on a deeper level that guides us there. So thank you so much.
Totally. Oh, thanks for having me, Ashley. It was great to be with you.
It was wonderful. Well, we will look forward to seeing you again soon. I think we have you listed as a guest on our upcoming podcast.
I
which
look
we will be
forward.
announcing coming out in the next month or so. And so you'll be one of our first guests. And so everybody tune in if you want to get a little more personal and maybe be a little bit more of what Johanna offers. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. And we'll just post this in the DFW Women's Club group. It will also be on our website, dfwwomensclub.com. And if you are a part of our subscriber list, then you will also receive this via email. So you can go and replay and rewatch and do some of those exercises before maybe you join one of these workshops and dig a little deeper. All right, we'll talk to you soon.